Good evening, everyone, and you're listening to Mothman Podcast.
Good evening. My name is Amanda. I'm here in the studio with Darrell.
And Amanda, before we get started, go ahead and tell everybody how they can contact us.
If you like our videos, please give us a like, subscribe, and comment. We will definitely answer back. And you can also contact us at mothanpodcast@gmail.com. And you can ask us questions or let us know if you want to do a call-in on our podcast. We'd love to have you as a guest, or even suggest a topic you'd like to see.
Well, tonight, Amanda and I are just going to talk for a little while. We've got a new podcast that's going to come out within the next few days, and it's going to be on the Ouija boards. And so, we discuss before we put out a podcast. We get together and kind of make notes and see how we're going with the podcast, the order we're going to put our presentation out there to you. But tonight we're just going to talk a little bit. Amanda, how'd you get started in all this? I mean, what brought you into the paranormal?
I think it really was when I started seeing ghosts myself. A couple years ago, I had gone through some traumatic stuff, a breakup with a boyfriend kind of thing, and was in just a really vulnerable place. And I started having visitors come and talk to me, and I thought I was losing my mind a little bit, but then I looked into it and I said, I looked up the symptoms of what was going on in my life, and it said, you might be a medium. So I kind of experimented a little bit with a couple of friends. That all they would tell me is the name of their loved one who had passed, and I came up with some very accurate information and realized that I can talk to dead people. So, and since then, I've kind of been into anything paranormal. And I call myself a skeptical medium because I wouldn't believe myself if I hadn't seen, that I knew things that no one could have told me and I couldn't have known. So that's kind of how I got into it. What about you, Darrell? I don't even know your story.
I've just been an investigator all my life, and then I started to looking into things, I guess, pretty heavy after my brother came down with cancer, and I knew that it was terminal. Mm-hmm. And so I started doing some research, and I've always really been interested in it. Even when I was a teenager and with my first wife back in the back hills of West Virginia, excuse me, a lot of ghost stories come out of West Virginia. And so my wife's grandmother lived up in a little old valley. I don't even know what you call it. It's one of those roads where if you meet another car, you're going to have to almost pull off the mountain before so they can pass. And there was a creek that ran by that area. And so we would go up there at nighttime. And the first time I went up there, I was sitting up there, and then I saw this mist over on the creek. And I thought it was just a fog, moving by. But then I noticed that it kind of had a movement to it that was not like a fog. It would go over to the water. He'd come back from the water. He'd go up the water. He'd come down the water.
Wow.
It was kind of like a movement. And then I saw it leave the water and go back and go into the house.
Oh, my
God. That was right there. And so, I said then, this ain't right.
Yeah.
So that was back when I was, before I went into the military. And so my ex-wife and I spent the night in that house one night, and they always said it was haunted, but what did that mean to me? Nothing.
Yeah.
But we were laying there in bed, and then I started hearing footsteps upstairs and hearing all this stuff. And so I said, well, yeah, maybe it is haunted.
Yeah.
So it never scared me. It just wanted me to look into it a little bit more, and things over the years have happened. And next thing I know, I want to start investigating these things. And it took me all these years to to get the money together to buy the equipment because we, as you know, we got some very expensive,
some good equipment.
Yeah, we have some very expensive equipment. But if you're going to do it right or don't do it at all.
Yeah.
So I started to doing some research, and then I saw the Mothman prophecy.
Oh, yeah.
And so after I watched that movie, I'm thinking, I like that name. I like Mothman. So I adapted the Mothman, and I said, well, I'm going to call it Mothman Paranormal Investigations. And as we go forward, I do want to do some more research on the Mothman.
Yeah.
And the whole phenomena that surrounds the Mothman, which is a little bit, it is paranormal, and it's based off of an entity that shows itself just prior to major
catastrophes, right?
Major catastrophes, or it was seen in New York just for 9/11.
No kidding.
It was there.
Wow.
It's been seen all over the world. At different things that's happening around the world.
See, I've only heard of the one at like the bridge collapse and like from the movie
Mount Pleasant, West Virginia.
Yeah.
So no, there's more to the Mothman than what's out there, and we'll make that a podcast that we'll look into.
Oh yeah, because now I'm curious.
Oh yeah, it's a great story, and there's a lot of things that are there that there's beliefs that maybe it's an energy. It's the movie led you to believe that maybe there was a paranormal. What am I trying to say here? A parallel universe.
Oh,
and so maybe somebody from another universe can see.
Yeah,
future.
Into ours. Yeah,
and they try to, for whatever means that they have to communicate, they try to let it warn us that something's going to happen.
Oh, wow.
But there's a lot of good theories out there that we'll look at over the next. We're just in this for the long run, so there's going to be a lot of podcasts out there.
Now, can I ask you, when you were in Vietnam, did you ever have anything paranormal or weird, kind of questionable things happen?
Honestly, no. When I was in Vietnam, it was all about staying alive.
Yeah.
And our missions.
Yeah.
And we went over with a 12-man unit, and only 2 of us came back.
Oh, my God.
And so it was one of those things where now we had replacements,
Yeah.
but only the original 2 of us originally that went over together came back. So it was, no, I didn't have any paranormal, anything really. I didn't see any flying saucers, and I didn't see any ghosts. I didn't see anything other than.
Well, your mind was probably so focused.
It was, I was very young when I was in Vietnam, and I look at, I was 21 years old leading men to combat. And
wow.
I look around here now, and I'm not saying anything.
No,
I'm just saying a 21-year-old now leading in combat.
Trust,
It was a different world.
Yeah.
It kind of stole my youth from me.
Yeah. Because
I never was the partier guy, because I had to keep straight and try to take care of my guys. Mm-hmm. So it made me grow up really fast.
Yeah.
In some ways I resent it. In some ways it made me who I am today.
Yeah.
But no, Vietnam, I had nothing. I did in law enforcement.
Oh, really?
Yeah. We had I had more than one encounter in law enforcement. Now, we the first one was I was working patrol, and I got a call that a lady was missing, and she left her baby at the neighbor's house. Mm-hmm. So I went to the neighbor's house and met, and the husband had got home about that time. And he says, well, I think she may be up here at a new house. She really liked this new house they were building a couple of streets over. Yeah. And then another neighbor said, well, I saw her walking up the road, and she had a paper bag. It looked like it had a drop cord in it. And I said, a drop cord? Yeah, an orange cord. So we took off up there. Mm-hmm. And when we pulled up in front of the house, I got out and I'm looking around, and it was you had to have a plank to get up on the porch to get into the house. I mean, the basement and the surrounding areas around the house was dug out. So I went up on that plank and went into the house. And as I go in the house, it's dusk, but almost dark. I had to have a flashlight. Mm-hmm. And so as I walked into the house, I turned to my right and I turned my flashlight on. And this lady had hung herself.
Oh, my God.
And that was probably the whitest entity or person at that point, a body I'd ever seen. And it startled me. And what saved me was my thoughts on the husband was coming in behind me. No, I didn't want him to see this.
Yeah.
So I turned around and tried to, push it. No, you don't want to come here. We got to get back. We get back. And I got on the radio and I called for a box or an ambulance to come out. And the lady at we got to the hospital and they laid the lady out on a table there, and the nurse walked in. She says, "Man, I don't know how you handled this." She says, "She scares me. Looks right here on this table. If I'd have seen her hanging in a house,
oh my God,
it would have scared me to death."
Yeah.
But that wasn't the paranormal. That was the act which I believe caused the paranormal. About a year later, I get a call in the neighborhood to that same house out there, and they kept saying, when I went out there, it was another law enforcement officer who bought the house. And he says, Darrell, I think I'm having somebody breaking in the house. I keep hearing things. I keep seeing things.
Oh, my God.
There's just all kind of movement in the house. I said, so we looked, and we couldn't find anybody. Anybody could get in, and there was nothing going on. And then I saw out of the corner of my eye what appeared to be a shadow. And he looked at me and he says, "You see that?" And I said, "I did see that."
Oh, no.
But I believe that entity, that lady,
it was that
who
lady
hung herself, is still in that house.
Oh, my God.
And so sure enough, he and his wife moved out about probably less than 3 months later.
Oh, my God. That is a creepy story.
But that was the one of the law enforcement encounters.
Wow.
Another one is when I went into a possible break-in at a church. And I go in with the minister, and we go around and we open up all the doors and we're looking around. And he says, "Oh, man, it's this thing that we keep having here." He says, "I don't know what it is. I think it's a spirit." And I said, "What do you mean you think it's a spirit?" And he says, "I lock the doors and leave. They're unlocked from the inside, and we never find anything missing. We just go in." And then he says, "Now, you don't want to go in this room." And I said, "Why don't I want to go in this room?" He says, "Because it will bother you." I said, "Well, don't you think we need to check it out?" So we opened the door and we went in, and there's like a little stage there. And on the stage, there's like 6 rocking chairs. And I'm standing there, and then I look up, and the rocking chairs start to rock.
Oh, my gosh.
3 out of the 6 are rocking.
Oh, my God.
And I'm going, "What?" And he says, "I told you didn't want to come in." And I said, "Well, is there wind? Nope, there's no wind. There's no strings attached to them." He goes through all this stuff. He says, "There's something rocking, and they don't bother me, and I don't bother them." And now we're talking about a church now.
Yeah.
And I says, "Okay." And so after that, they give me the call to go over there, and I'd meet with the pastor outside. I said, "You just want to lock this place up and let's leave?" He said, "Yep." So it always happened at nighttime.
Oh, that is hilarious.
And so that was one of the things that I had with the paranormal.
Yeah.
And then one night I go in, and this lady was saying, "Oh, God, this house is haunted. There's something going on. This house is haunted." And, by then I'm thinking, okay, maybe.
Yeah.
Whatever. I've seen this kind of thing before, so maybe.
Yeah.
So we're walking around the house, and then I walk into the bedroom, and as soon as I walk in the bedroom, the door slams behind me.
Oh, my God.
I said, "Oh, crap." So I opened up the door, and I said, you got a draft in here? No draft. There's nothing. There's no doors open that would cause this door to slam shut.
Mm-hmm.
So I walk in the hallway and this door slams shut behind me again. I said, okay, somebody just doesn't want you to stay or go into that bedroom. I don't know what's going on. But so, I marked that one up as unexplainable.
Yeah.
And so, I'm sitting down in the car thinking, how do you write this up? And I'll just put door slams, possible uneven floors or something. I'm putting this thing up, thinking to myself, there's something going on in that house.
Yeah.
And so that kind of put me on the path of saying, well, I need to investigate some of this stuff.
Yeah. Oh, my God.
But I've always told you that I don't make up and I don't take away. I just give the facts.
Right, right.
That's the facts of.
And as law enforcement, that's what you're trained to do.
Well, yeah, and I've been doing that for over 40 years. So, that's what I do.
Did you is paranormal calls something that happens frequently in law enforcement?
Paranormal calls are unexplainable. That it's kind of like UFO calls.
Mm-hmm.
You have to justify the call.
Yeah.
And an officer's not going to write down, I was in this house, I'll go shut the door behind me. I'm not.
Yeah.
I mean, we're going to look for something else. We're going to put something else in the report.
Yeah.
And it's just human nature. We can't just say, well, there's a ghost in the house.
Yeah.
That doesn't work, But it's like a law enforcement seeing a UFO, they people try to discredit you if you come out and say, oh, yeah, I saw this flying saucer over my car, and my car lit up. And picked me up 30 feet off the ground and set me back down. I mean, that ain't going to work.
Right, right.
So law enforcement would, it's a way of, you just got to justify it in a known meaning. And I mean, you just kind of make up the facts to try to justify it. So
kind of like a Project Blue Book kind of thing.
Right. I mean, it's all PR, right?
Yeah. Yeah. That makes sense.
So, it's being a cop and being an investigator is just, at least now I can give the facts, and people, they still roll their eyes, I'm sure, because there's a lot of people out there that believe everything that we say. And there's a lot of people out there that don't believe a word we say.
Right.
So, you just deal with that. But deep down, if you know me and know you and the people around us, you know that we're just giving you
just rational, normal people, and
we're just giving you what we find out there. So, and that's the job of any investigator, is just to report the facts.
Yeah. So. Yeah. And I like to be very factual. I don't like speculation.
Well, I don't either. Sometimes, you've asked me before, and I said, well, that's my opinion. I don't really like to give my opinion because it is my opinion. Right. And you're going to have your opinion. But we try to keep as much of that out of it. But it does filter in there every once in a while. You can't help it. Yeah. Doing this kind of investigations and things like that. Right. But we're out there just, excuse me, having some fun. This pollen's getting to me today. I know. The fall pollen and stuff is starting to kick up. Oh, God. After this time of the year, it's spring. And it's worse than spring for me. I cough and sneeze and all that kind of stuff. Well, I felt bad about coughing on the mics, but then I saw that CNN reporter. she's just coughing up a storm. And I said, oh, man, she can do that on national TV. I can do it on a podcast. That's right. That's kind of the way it is. But, but it's kind of what we're talking about to our fans out there and the people that listen to us. We're going to be doing more and more investigations. We're going to look into more and more unknown mystery type happenings across the world and try to bring them to you. But we hope that you will help us out by calling us and giving us your stories. I mean, everybody has a story. Yeah, and we really are interested. Right, and we will definitely, if there's something you need us to look at, we will look at it, and we will try to come to a conclusion on whether there's something there. If there's something there, we'll tell you. If there's nothing there, we will tell you that too. And sometimes that's just as good news as having something there, because some people don't want to know.
And I can cleanse things after we figure out what's going on.
Right. And if it needs a second level, we have your dad's a minister.
My dad is a minister.
We'll bring him in to do the second level of cleansing.
Yeah.
So
he's done that a few times, I found out.
Yeah.
I was so nervous to tell my parents, like, I think I'm a medium. And my mom was just like kind of confused and the way she usually is. But my dad was like, well, I've seen ghosts too, and I've had to cleanse a few houses, and it's okay.
Yeah. Well, my dad's 91 years old, and he's an old Baptist, and so he would have it hard to believe anything I said was true, even though I'm saying, listen, Dad, I'm just giving you the facts. I'm not trying to say it's true or false. I'm just giving you the facts. He would be hard to carry a conversation about this subject. So some people just can't accept it, and that's okay. Yeah, and I've got a wife that she just her comments are, don't bring anything home. So
that's good advice.
So that's what we're doing on this podcast, and that's what we do in our investigations. You know, we all have our theories about why an entity hangs to something, and I really believe it hangs to an object. So it's not going to say, hey, I like this guy better than I do this person in this house. I think I'm going with this guy. So I don't think that's going to happen. Yeah, you made a good point. If they're there, they're attached to something there already. Right. And most of them, most of the entities that we have looked at have been entities back from probably the early 19s. Early 19s all the way back to the early 1700s. So, you know, it's entities that have been there for a little while. They're not going to pack up and leave with me when I leave. Right. And pack up my equipment. So I don't really worry about that. Yeah. Well, that's one of the things we wanted to discuss with our fans, and we wanted to just have a little conversation with everybody. But please call in or email us, and we will call you and set up a time and a place to meet, or we will put you on the phone. We have capabilities of running the podcast through the phone. Yep. So, and we really do want to get to know our fans. We know you guys are out there. We see the likes and comments on YouTube, and we just want you guys to let us know who you are. And we really, really do find interest in other people's stories. And tell your friends. That's one of the things that we really need is for you to tell your friends and spread the word. We can only go so far with this, but for us to expand and do other things and really reach out for an in-depth investigation, we need you to support us. And so we're looking, just all you had to do is just tell your friends to click and look at our sites and like us and grow our sites on YouTube or wherever you see us or hear us from. You can find us there on our website. So. And we have some upcoming plans, too, to do some things in the community in the month of October. And we'll let you guys know about that coming up as soon as we get the plans finalized for that. And hopefully you guys will come out and meet us. And, that's going to be a great thing. We're going to be in the Winston-Salem Clemens area. So please come out when you hear about our we'll set up at different locations. And please come out and meet us. And get to know us. Just tell us your stories. But another thing I wanted to bring up, and before we get going, is the fact that you guys have got to you've got to be open to the paranormal, and don't think that your neighbor is going to laugh at you and going to make fun of you if you tell your story, because everybody has a story, whether they want to admit it or not. They have a story. Absolutely. And everybody wants to hear your story, and we want to hear your story. So just please don't let this fear of losing credit or making a mistake on the mic. I make enough of those. You ought to feel real comfortable. So you just come on, let us know what it is, and we will try to help you with it.
Absolutely.
So until we put our next podcast out, thank you again for listening to us, and we hope to hear from you soon. Thank you.